Like most entrepreneur wannabes, my online quest began with a visit to the Small Business Administration website, or SBA, to look over what all they had to offer. Since it showed a regionally targeted area map, I focused my attention on that which covered my location in Philadelphia. At the bottom of their page, I saw they had recommended links to other organizations. Not certain if these recommended links were loosely associated with the SBA or what. But anyway, it was where I first noticed a link to the Philadelphia chapter of the Urban League. I had been aware of the Urban League's history when it came to civil rights going back decades ago. What I didn't know was what, if any, ties they had to entrepreneurs and business startups. But the way I saw it, the SBA would not have had the local chapter of the Urban League among the list of their recommended links unless there was some solid legitimacy to them. I clicked the link, which led me to their page, which in due course led me to an email address of someone to contact for further information. I messaged the link that same day. By the next day, I had received a reply from a representative. I was invited to attend a Zoom meeting with the Urban League of Philadelphia. It was a one-on-one meeting with an intake person of the Urban League, a guy. I had my meeting with him about a week later. He asked me some questions about my business intentions. I assumed they were all answered to his satisfaction. At the conclusion of the session, he invited me to attend what is called the Mastermind Monday meetings over Zoom. In the absence of holidays, they occur every Monday evening for 90 minutes beginning at 6 p.m. I accepted that invite, which began my start of becoming affiliated with the Urban League of Philadelphia. That was March of this year, 2022. This recording is October, which is 7 months later. With the exception of the time I was away traveling, I've been consistent with my attendance. Early on, I believe it was like my second or third Mastermind Monday meeting day. That morning, Henry had suggested that I join him over Brett's later that morning to do some work at Brett's, mainly plumbing, which Henry had volunteered to help out with, and Henry was interested in my joining them. Both Henry and Brett are my brothers, of which I have a close relationship with. It is seldom, when given the chance to offer a helping hand to one another, we would not oblige, which was why I agreed to go with Henry to Brett's. But I did let Henry know up front, come a certain time in the afternoon, I'm going to have to leave because I have an important meeting to attend to online. When that time of late afternoon arrived, I made sure I was back home in time to attend my Mastermind Monday meeting that evening. Typically, the meetings last for 90 minutes. Sometimes they go over. There is the meeting facilitator, along with his right-hand man, which in this case is his right-hand woman. There are two other notable exceptions, one male and the other female, who are not directly part of the Philadelphia Urban League. They play an important role in the support structure of the meeting's hierarchy. These two also serve as fill-ins for if the facilitator or his right hand is absent. And then there are the rest of us, the attendees, of which a handful of what you can call the regulars. Then there are a few others who are the sometime regulars. Now and then we will receive call-ins from new people, first-time attendees. The recurring theme is business, small business owners, startups, and soon-to-be business owners like me. Each meeting is recorded by the facilitator or his right hand. A link to each meeting's recording is distributed by email to all the attendees. Meeting starts and conclusions are almost always the same. Everyone is invited at the start to say anything about a win which recently occurred which is related to their enterprise. Maybe they landed a contract, or a new client, or moved into a new facility, or bought a new piece of equipment. It is a way of sharing some sort of positive news with the rest of the group. It is voluntary. You are welcome to share and say if you want to. The meeting's conclusion with the attendees volunteering again only if they want to, any commitments they make to themselves to accomplish over the next 7 days, which is when the next meeting will take place. Sometimes there is a guest speaker, someone invited by the Urban League and scheduled to discuss a particular topic. During my first meeting, they had a guest speaker. She was an Hispanic lady. She represented a bank which does business with small startups. She used a PowerPoint presentation to talk about all that her bank has to offer, as well as requirements. There have been numerous other guest speakers talking about all sorts of other topics related to small businesses. Too many for me to remember them all off the top of my head. Sometimes the guest speaker and discussion topic are scheduled far enough in advance that we know of it at the prior meeting, that it's coming up. Other times we are informed days before. Other times someone is spotlighted for the majority of a given meeting. It has not happened to me yet, due mainly because I'm not a business owner. If I were, I'd start off by telling everyone about my business, what I do, how long it has been in existence, high points, low points, and everything in between. Am I where I want to be with my company? If not, what would it take for me to get there? If so, what would it take for me to get to the next level? What obstacles am I facing? What is going right? I can present in any way I want to. I can share my screen to show my website if I want to, or PowerPoint presentation, or just verbally. I can talk it any way I want to. And I'm not describing this in the specific way it is always done every single time. Just an example of them. Once the person spotlighted is finished giving the information they do, then it is time for everyone else to respond. I've seen the responses take on a couple of different ways. One way is for us to break off into individual groups of a few people, where each group puts together a list of recommendations to the person spotlighted, and then we all come back to the main broadcast screen to offer our recommendations collectively. I've seen it done that way. Sometimes there is not enough attendees to break off into individual groups, or there may be a lack of time based on other things discussed. In those cases, as soon as the spotlighter is finished, does he or she begin receiving feedback from the rest of us without first branching off into individual groups. Feedback to the person spotlighted is mainly in the form of helpful suggestions, which should be taken that way, even though I've seen it where some of the questions have been pointed and rather critical. If you are being spotlighted and you haven't thought about something one of the rest of us believes you are overlooking, we'll let you know it. There are also other meetings in which one of the 4 meeting officials will have a specific topic to talk about, in which case the meeting will be devoted to that. Months ago, the Urban League of Philadelphia hosted a food service career fair at one of the community centers. You had restaurateurs there. You had food truck operators there. You had people who sold edible items out of their house there. You had vendors there. You had large companies in the food and beverage industry looking to hire people there. It had been announced in the weeks leading up about this food service career fair hosted by the Urban League. I attended myself. I took my camera. I walked around to tables and talked to people there. I recorded some of them talking about either their own company, if self-employed, or the company they were there to represent. I put it all into a video short and uploaded it onto my YouTube channel. I'm a soon-to-be builder in the city of Philadelphia. Do I have anything to do with the food service industry at all? None whatsoever. But the Urban League does. I'm part of their meetings. I did not have an obligation to attend their food service career fair, but I went anyway, as a gesture of showing my support. It also gave me the opportunity to meet a few of the people I would not have otherwise seen outside of our weekly Zoom calls. Being that I'm into all things visual, I've let it be known to other participants of our Monday meetings about my modest YouTube channel. My willingness to support their business by videotaping a YouTube segment on what they are doing, either by coming to their location or we could do it in a Zoom podcast format, where they simply talk about it from where they are, all of which would be free of charge to them. So far, I've not received notice from anyone to take me up on my offer, which is okay. I understand such things better now than I did before, when I was pursuing the podcast thing more vigorously. It is much more clear to me how much I am an exception to the rule because of my willingness to put myself out there unabashedly, whereas the majority of others are mostly camera shy and possess video shyness. Besides, as an online broadcaster, it's not like I'm the Philadelphia Inquirer coming to showcase them, or the Daily News, or from any of the local news outlets, and I'm definitely not from the New York Times or Washington Post. I'm just me, a man with a camera. Whatever other experiences I can share with the Philadelphia chapter of the Urban League is good enough for me. This video is not an impartial, objective review of the Urban League's Philadelphia chapter and weekly meetings they hold. It is not simply my opinion. It is subjective, about as subjective as I can be. I'm talking how it strikes me, how it hits me, how it affects me. I'm not encouraging anyone watching this clip to sign up for the weekly meetings. It is not an endorsement for the Urban League in any way. Because the last thing I want anyone to come back and say to me is that I made it seem like it was all that, when you did not get nowhere nearly as much out of it. This is me talking about how it is to me. My very first time attending a Mastermind Monday meeting, I was blown away, completely. It was like I could not believe what I just experienced. Up until that time, I had been primarily operating within a vacuum, in isolation, with the exception of the BIA, which I was coming on board with about the same time, which is why the huge charge I got out of that first Mastermind meeting. Not every face on a Zoom call is shown, as you know. But all the faces I saw were black. Every one of them. And here they all were, talking about businesses, black businesses, startups, overcoming hurdles, facing adversity, all in a well-organized, thought-out way. Not only were they doing it on that specific day and time, but they were going to come back again and again, week after week, to talk about it some more, and some more after that. It was like the sky had opened and the floodgates of positive energy had come gushing out. All I could say was, wow, and that I wanted to experience that sensation again and again. and keep experiencing it. So I return for more, and more after that. Here it is months later, and I'm still loving it. In the beginning, it was what I needed at the time. Guess what? It still is. I'm not too proud to say. I need it like a hog needs slop. That weekly call feeds me in a way I need to be fed. Sometimes I join in on a call and not say anything. Nothing at all for the entire duration. Simply listen. Yet the times in which I do speak up, regardless as to how much or how little I say, I'm listened to. I'm heard. My input is valued. Simply knowing those I am speaking to care, that means a lot to me. Because like I said, I don't get that from family members. I don't get that from longtime friends. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How it is when you are on a subject that is important to you. The person you are speaking to is nodding in agreement and feigning attention. When you know everything you are saying is going in one ear and out the other, because of how quick they are to change the subject to something completely different as soon as they are given a chance. Contrast that with someone else who is not only listening, but offering you feedback as well. It is like night and day. Not every call are there new people to introduce themselves to the rest. Sometimes there is just a handful of regular attendees with just a topic picked by the key members and discussed. That's okay with me. I don't care how many or how few there are on this session. All that matters to me is that I'm there. I'm listening. I'm being fed. In a previous clip, I walked my viewers through the process of applying for a grant offered by the Small Business Digital Ready part of Verizon. What I did not say at the time, and am letting everyone know now, is that the information I received about that grant came directly from an announcement in one of our Mastermind Monday meetings by the facilitator. I had not heard of it before then, or anywhere else since. I credit the Urban League Mastermind Monday meetings of receiving information which led to my very first application for a grant, which occurred much earlier than I ever thought it would.